Ryan, who
the
is
PlayStation
creative
Access
director
record
on
for the
Marvel
Spider-Man
Spider-Man,
PS4
and you're
game.
going to be telling
I'm
us a little
talking
bit
lightly
about
so
some
you
of the
guys can
gameplay
hear
footage
the audio
with
from
it.
Yeah,
this.
so
But
this
yeah, I
is
won't be
from
talking
the
as
first
much,
couple
but
hours
maybe
of the
like some
game.
parts.
This is a
These
little
are
bit
just like access
further
from
along.
PlayStation Access.
P
All
has
this
kind of
video
defeated
is
Fisk,
I
and now we're
own
seeing
nothing.
the
This is all
introduction
from
of a new
PlayStation
threat in the
Access.
city, the inner demons. So he's made his way to this art gallery where the demons are basically using their force to get an item from this gallery manager.
So this is some of the stealth?
Yeah,
We've
yeah.
mentioned stealth mechanics in the past.
Yeah, so actually this is one of the
I
missions
actually
where we
really
kind
like
of start to
enjoy stealth
introduce some of
games
the
for some
more
reason. There's just something about it where you
stealth
just gotta
mechanics
be
in the
stealthy.
game. So obviously in a lot of situations you can kind of jump down and fight, but in this kind of one, this is where we kind of teach you can go a little bit slower. So in this situation here, you can actually use your web shooters to get an enemy's attention. So you'll shoot it down the ground. You'll start to kind of hear the sound, notice over, and that kind of opens up for an opportunity to do a takedown move. So you'll do a little perch takedown move here and kind of cocoons them up.
So that's not linear, like that was your choice to do that?
Yeah, I mean, in this mission we kind of suggest to do that, but in the course of the game you can, there'll be like, there's a mission, a couple missions later where we can let you do that. Oh, in this situation you actually can do it from a event.
That's so cool.
Yeah, and then, so you can kind of do perch takedowns, you can do one from event, and then of course if a guy's walking, you can walk from behind if you're being quiet, and you can also do like takedown moves from behind. So we have stuff from above, from below, and on the same level.
So you can't.
I guess what's important as well is there's a mix, right? Because it's not just about web shooting. The
can
combat
do
is also
events, I
really,
guess,
really fluid.
Yeah. I mean, we really want the
maybe
character
from
is very
events or not.
acrobatic. Is
like
whether
there's
we're talking about
XP2
combat traversal, we kind of use
level
terms
up.
like fluidity,
That's
flow, and we want.
Those are
make
bingo
sure-
words.
I know. And so in this situation, you can actually use your webs on certain environment items that will kind of draw people's
That's
attention.
really
So
cool
right
how,
now in
like,
this
they added
situation,
the danger
there's
sign
two.
there.
If
That's
you
one
ping
thing
the
that
world, you'll
stands
see
out.
that little danger sign. So
I
it
guess
actually
it's
shows
like
the
their
state at
mood.
which the
Maybe
enemy
I'm
is
not
in.
sure.
Okay.
And then you can actually use an item to get one guy to turn around. He starts
So
to
you
check
can
it out, and now
attract
you
the
can actually
attention
take
and
out
you
this
get 'em,
enemy.
which is like
So it's kind of
it's
a way
actually really
to
smart
break
game
up
mechanics,
the
so that pretty sure
say
like
if there's guys aren't in
Insomniac
a
really
situation
thought
where
about
you
that,
can
like how
stealthily take
you
them
can
out
get
right away.
one
You can kind of
and
create that
sneak
opportunity
past
just
it.
like you did there.
So
Okay,
here's
so
the
now
open
here's
world,
the thing that makes
which
Spider-Man
looks
Spider-Man
pretty
traversal.
cool.
This is what
This is
everybody
nice.
went wild for when
Yeah.
it
We're
was
actually
announced.
getting this
Well, of
remote.
course, now as I say that,
Anyways,
he's
you
picking up a backpack.
find
So
backpacks, like, all
in the
over
world,
the
there'll be
free
a
world,
bunch
open
of different
world.
backpacks
And
in
they
the
come with
world. And what's really
collectibles.
cool is that people want to know,
So
like,
that's pretty cool.
what's the history of our Spider-Man? And what you do is when you pick up these items,
And then like supposedly
they'll
the
actually reveal an
collectibles
item
like go
in
with
the
the
backpack,
storyline
and you'll
and stuff.
actually, if you go to the pause menu,
Oh, you
Pete will
see
actually
there,
talk
that's
about
one
that
of the
item. So you
coolest
get a better,
things.
Wow.
Skydiving,
a little more backstory
web
about
slinging.
our Spider-Man.
Oh, look
Yeah.
at this. I mean, will people recognize landmarks?
Yes,
You
we will
can, like,
have
perch
both
onto, like,
landmarks that
lampposts
if you've
and,
been in
like,
New York
jump
City,
off to
they'll
get
see,
speeds,
they'll be familiar with, like
more
Rental
speed
Terminal,
and
but
all
we also
that.
have familiar Marvel landmarks like
And
Avengers
yeah, I
Tower.
see
and
that.
Yes.
such. Yeah.
And you'll
There's
be
the
able to
trick
climb those?
stuff.
Yes. Okay. So here's
which
something
I'm
I
so
want to show.
excited about.
Right.
So
I actually
now
wanna do, like,
you
some
can
really cool trick
actually,
videos
we have an
on this.
upgrade where you can
Anyways,
unlock the ability to do
This
tricks
is not
in the game.
part
So
of
we
the
have a
becoming
bunch of
gamer
different
series.
tricks.
This is just something.
People have been
that I'm
asking
gonna
for
show you
more
guys.
swing animations. Well,
Be
here you go.
interesting.
So you'll be able to combo different
so
moves
you can do
together
pretty cool
and
tricks
get a
that give
little
you
XP
XP
boost for
points.
doing that. So
Then
it's
you can level them
another
up
way
to get more tricks. I
upgrade
believe
your
that's what
character
they
and also
said.
look pretty cool while
Not
swinging.
sure.
Is it just a button
I mean,
combination
this
that
is
you
just
press?
a voiceover
Yeah,
show.
you'll have different button combinations.
Yeah,
and,
anyways.
it's just like it's that plus
So
a
yeah,
little controller
the
input
world
and,
is amazing.
Yeah.
That
Like,
looks
there's
really,
day,
really
there's
cool.
Yeah, and
night,
it definitely adds a
there's
little more.
midday.
You can have a little more fun.
Pretty sure
with,
this is like the
with Traversal.
morning-ish
It's already pretty fun. That's something
when
we've
the
never
sun
shown
comes
up
out,
until
you know?
now.
Yeah.
Everybody keeps asking if there's even more things to do in Traversal, and I'm like, just wait. Here we go.
So with traversal then, if you're just new to the game, can you just start and look this cool from the beginning? Or
You can
you
look
like
pretty.
upgrade
You
it?
can look pretty cool. I mean, I would say that I think one of the things I'm really excited about is that players can pretty much pick up the game and swing and feel like Spider-Man right away. But over the course of time, they're going to learn the ins and outs of wall run and perch jumps and
So the
tricks,
night
and to look much more
is- the
stylish
night
as
open
they
world
as they
is
swing around the
so
city.
cool. Look at
So
that
another
lighting.
thing is
So
too,
beautiful the way
is like
it
you
is.
said, there's multiple times a day.
Just
So we have we have
great,
sunset,
like
we have nighttime,
animation,
we have
everything.
daytime, we have
Insomniac
a
did
little
a
more
great
overcast
job
and
on
raining
this.
Oh, nice.
with weather. So there will be
So it
multiple
looks like-
times a day. A lot of people wonder about that.
That's
So
what I'm
we will
saying, you
have,
can perch,
fully supported.
and then
we
you
use
can
it as a
jump and
narrative
you'll get
device.
so much
You
extra
want
speed.
certain things to be communicated, the
And I
tone of
guess
the
that
game,
the
where you are in the
shining
story,
yellow light is like
goes a long way with
missions
that.
or
So is it a
robberies.
day-night cycle, but
So,
then
yeah,
you'll force it
I
into
guess those are,
certain
like,
So it's
times?
not a day-night cycle.
whatever
We
you get.
actually have multiple times a day that we
You
switch
can
upon
see,
during
like,
the
those, the
during
15
the
out
main
of
story. And
15.
then, but once you do finish the game,
Yeah, so there's
to finish
many
the main story,
like,
you actually can
mechanics
go to
in this
research
game.
stations and change it to
There's
any
lots
time
of
of
things
day.
to
Oh,
do.
that's cool.
Yeah.
Oh,
Not
it's
just
sort
the
of a little bit of the
storyline,
rain,
so
I think, there.
that's pretty
This
cool.
is beautiful.
Yeah.
And
So,
so,
I mean,
yeah.
the thing is, we definitely want you to feel like you never have to slow down if you don't want to. So if you hit an item, you hit a wall, you can run up it. If you run into a car, you can leap over it. You know, we want added some parkour elements, whether you're on the ground or on a rooftop, that lets you just keep going. We don't have fall damage. You know, hey, we've been saying that Spider-Man's been doing it for 8 years. He doesn't need to take
Thank
damage.
God
So,
there's no fall
also,
damage. I
it can be
swear I
sometimes a little
hate
bit
fall
frustrating.
damage. Anyways, I guess this is a car
Okay, so
chase.
here's
It's super
actually,
cool
when you're
how
swimming around, there'll be a
this
bunch of crimes in
angle
the
is
game.
just so beautiful right here. And how
car
he
chase.
beats them up, all
And
these, like,
as you can see, all the pedestrians on
Insomniac
the
that
sidewalk
think
are
of
away. They're all
everything that you can do with
reacting.
Spider-Man.
Camera
And-
angle's great.
Yeah, it's
That's
really
so
cool, very cinematic.
And then
what's
I love
really
this
great
part,
about
this
the
is my
crime
favorite
system is
part.
that
He just
as you progress
goes
in
through the
game,
window and kicks him out.
new crime types
But then,
will
yeah, it's slow
become
motion
available.
scenes
So
are
like
so
they'll
cool.
basically like if they'll get
So,
more and more
yeah,
severe
super
as you
strengths,
go deeper
like,
into
of
the
course,
main
can
story
pick
because the
that
story
car
gets
up.
much more dangerous.
So, and here are
Of
some
course, here's
fighting.
combat.
Yes.
You know,
So,
like
yeah,
we talked
I
a lot
love
about
the
is this idea of
moves
an
in this.
acrobatic improviser using webs.
They thought of everything as
using
well
your
here.
gadgets. I mean, you can see
Of
it
what you
looks
can
like a ping
do.
pong
Okay,
ball,
Spider-Man
but
has
in the
webs,
end,
it can
that's-
stick
we really want
with
to be able to
anything,
dodge,
basically, and then,
flip,
yeah.
bounce,
So, like,
jump,
imagining what you
swing,
can do with
everything you
that.
could possibly want to do.
Super cool.
And really give players a lot of opportunities to swing, to experiment.
And those focus bars
in the
and
world. A
gives
lot
you,
of
like,
environment actions, like environment actions that
like
lead
a-
to different
Your
effects,
attack
like
is
you know,
done,
electricity.
and then the exclamation marks
Yeah,
makes
it's just
that.
a lot of fun. I
Oh,
think,
I know who you are.
from
I
a
know who
development
you are.
standpoint, I got to give
Which
the
is so
combat team
cool.
a lot of credit because they really went much deeper with the combat system than I ever believed we thought we would originally. So,
I saw earlier on bonus objectives. How do they work?
yeah, so certain crimes you'll see basically you get sub-objectives. So if you complete those sub-objectives, you'll actually get more current crafting currency so you can craft gadgets, gadget upgrades, suits, and suit mods. So it's kind of like hey, you can just stop the crime or you can stop the crime with a little bit more flair and you'll get rewarded for it.
So this is
actually
the
a
mission that
cinematic
you actually
from
start
the
off
game
with,
where
like in the
Pete wakes
game.
up
So
that morning with
from
a,
the
hey,
start
there's
you
gonna be a
get
raid on Fist
super
Tower.
cool missions and
Captain
stuff.
Watanabe says,
So
"All right,
that's
come
the
help me
original
out," and you'll
suit.
notice he's wearing.
I was going to say,
his-
so that
his
suit is
classic
Like the
suit.
main
yeah.
suit
Yes, the
that you
advanced
start
suit,
off
the white
with,
spider suit
but
doesn't
you get
come
the
on
advanced
board
suit, the
till,
white spider suit soon.
later in the game, and when you play the
And then
game,
you
you'll
get to
find out how
craft
he
it
was
and grab
crafted.
that.
But yeah,
So,
and so this
here
is
we
the
go.
opening game is
That's
basically
the boss
taking down
fight.
the big bad of the
So,
world,
yeah,
which
and
is Wilson Fisk. So
I guess I won't talk
this
for
is
this
a,
entire boss fight, so
pretty
you guys can hear
awesome
anything.
opening. This is where you'll kind of, as you swing the Fist Tower, you'll get the basics for traversal, and as you're moving your way through Fist Tower, you'll kind of get the basics of combat.
So really, a word tutorial sometimes is a bit of a dirty word, but really this is where you're learning.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not going to lie and say it's not a tutorial in some way, aspects.
You gotta learn.
You got to learn somehow, and I think that's something we try to find that balance between making the opening feel epic and cool, but at the same time making sure you understand the ins and outs, the basics of our Spider-Man.
But when we were chatting earlier, you were saying, he's been Spider-Man for 8 years, so you're not having to do that thing where he's just learning his powers and learning. You're like, you can just go in and be a badass. You're 8 years into this.
Yeah, I mean, it's that balance between like, okay, he's been Spider-Man for 8 years, but you've been Spider-Man for about maybe
8 minutes.
8 minutes, 8 minutes at this point. So it's finding that balance. So this is after you kind of finish the atrium, you're gonna make your way up Fist Tower, and what I love here is that so he has an initial call with Yuri, and of course even in interiors he'll use his wall crawl. So he'll be
Oh, you just automatic, like
yeah,
run
you
up.
just basically run up and start he'll just just want you to start going, and then you can even he starts wall running. He starts wall running up this area. And so he's getting an update from you right now of what's going on in the outside, what's going on in what she wants him to do on inside Fist Tower, because basically they're worried he's gonna skip town, so they're trying to get to him before he does this. But what I really love is I talk a lot about the idea of worlds colliding. So during this part, all of a sudden Aunt May calls, and
this is just a normal call from
this
Aunt
normal
May.
call, and she asks what the racket is, and he just says basically, I'm watching a superhero movie, and he continues the conversation while he's fighting bad guys. Okay, that's an interesting idea. Sorry to cut it off.
No, go.
Cut myself off. You can kind of ping the world, and he can see through walls. He can see the enemy threats. You'll see him basically drop in on some Fist guys who are trying to basically wipe a bunch of data and Soren has to stop them before the data gets all erased. So you can see a lot of environment interactions. We try to make sure that not only are you paying attention to the enemies, but also your surroundings in terms of what you can use to your advantage.
So when you're using stuff to your advantage, like when you are grabbing stuff and swinging it around, you control that swing, or that movement is just very pre-programmed?
You actually can control that. You can control where you throw it, and then with upgrades, you can actually control how many times you spin it around. So, you can have.
Okay.
It's pretty cool.
I thought it was like just pre-programmed. Once you've grabbed it, the AI takes
over.
No,
you can actually influence it. And of course, here he's having a little conversation with his favorite friend, Wilson Fisk. And here's another sense of he's definitely taunting Fisk a little bit as this is going on. So. And of course Fisk gets pretty angry once he realizes that Spider-Man has downloaded everything. So again, this is another example of being able to yank guys down.
It literally says yank enemies.
Yeah, and then so like right there, you can grab guys.
That's cool.
Yeah, you can do it in midair. And what's really cool, one of the moves I love is to punch a guy up in the air. And if you actually juggle him with your web shooters and then yank him down, because he has webs on him, he'll actually stick down to the ground.
You've really thought of everything.
We tried a lot, and there's, if you build up basically focus, that allows you to either use as health regenerate, or actually to do a finishing move. So, that's something you can also upgrade as the game goes on. So we also try to make sure every single time we introduce a new enemy type, we make sure that people understand what's going to be, what the threat is, and have little fun enemy intros with that.
So you're going to see different enemy types as the game goes through?
Yeah, a lot. We have a lot, depending on who the main villain is, or
nice.
We'll have a bunch, especially the inner demons have a bunch of different enemy types that you'll see introduced, and a lot of them use that. That's my favorite, when you actually juggle the guy in midair and then you pin him to the wall with your webs.
So the web shooter then, so obviously as you're using it, that bar is depleting.
Yeah, so basically what you do is as you rapid fire, they decrease, and then after time it refills. But you can actually upgrade that gadget so it has more shots at first, as well as how fast it recharges. So here's an element, like we said, we added more ability to parkour. So if there's an obstacle in his way, he just kind of runs over it.
Really smooth.
Yeah, and I mean, you can do that whether you're in this building here, or you're on a rooftop, or you're on the street level. You want to make sure you can also jump off a wall and punch a guy. We want to make sure that there's a lot of different ways to take down enemies. And like I said, use the environment, whether you're grabbing it or actually using it as a launching off point to defeat enemies.
What are we seeing here? What's this little Spider-Man symbol on the left?
Okay,
next to
so
the combo
that's actually
meter?
your focus bar. That's actually what you do. So as you do better in combat, you're building that focus bar, and you can either use it to gain back some health, or if you kind of have a full bar, you can use it to do a takedown move on an enemy. And those are pretty spectacular. They have cool cameras and stuff like that. So at this point, he thinks he's working with the police. He realizes something is up, and his classic spider sense goes off. And he realizes that Fisk has been working, these guys have been working they're on Fisk payroll. And again, so a new enemy type, now we have a shielded enemy, and we teach you how to take him down.
So when we are upgrading, because obviously we're earning XP this whole time, we can unlock more combat moves as well as just gadgets?
Yeah, so the way we do it is earning XP gives you skill points. No skill points can learn it to new combat and traversal skills. And then doing stuff in the open world, those give you crafting currency, so you can spend on crafting new suits, suit powers, suit mods, and gadgets. So here's actually an intro to fighting Fisk. One thing we always talk about is Spider-Man having a sense of humor, using that to kind of either piss off the guy he's fighting or to calm himself down. And he's making a joke right here about don't forget to write in your memoirs, don't forget to put the hyphen between Spider and Man, which is a joke you hear online a lot. We just want to make sure that...
Topical, I like that. It's a capital S in the middle of PlayStation. It's a hyphen between the Spider and the Man.
Exactly. So we want to make sure that we get that right. So this now leads to an epic fight between Fisk and Spider-Man. It's basically 8 years in the making.
We should say again, anyone's just watching this is still quite early on in the game.
This is literally the first mission in the game.
This is how epic you've got it from the beginning.
This is literally the first mission in the game, and I think the thing we wanted to do was, if we put someone like Wilson Fisk in the game, we wanted people to understand that this is, after taking him down, Pete finally feels like, hey, now the city should be safe. I can kind of have more of a Peter Parker life. Still keep the city safe as Spider-Man, but hey, I have an opportunity now. Maybe spend more time at work. Maybe talk about those relationships outside work a little bit more. But what he realizes that there's a scene that happens after this. After you, guess what? Spoiler alert: you defeat Fisk. And
otherwise, the game's really short.
And he says, Fisk says, in 1 month, you wish you had me back. And the truth is, it's actually probably wishes Fisk was back, because it was actually a safer city with Fisk in there rather than the Inner Demons, Mr. Negative, and eventually the Sinister Six.
Yeah, now you've shown some of the other bad guys off. Maybe E3 we saw some as well. That was one of the big... Yeah, just not all of them from my understanding, just a few. But the nice thing, I suppose, is you can create your own world, which is what you've done, because this is a standalone universe and story. But I'm guessing you haven't really messed too much with the villains and stuff, so people still recognize?
Yeah, I would say that we want to make sure that we're being very respectful to the original artists and the writers who created these characters. We definitely take some liberties here and there to either modernize them or to put our own kind of little spin on them. But there should be no mistaking that's a Wilson voice. And so, another thing we talked a lot about here is
so it's Aunt
worlds
May.
colliding. Peter and Spider-Man's world colliding. And here you see early on in the game, you start to meet other people on Peter's life. So you meet Martin Lee, who at that point you only know as the guy who owns the feast shelters. Later, he'll be revealed as Mr. Negative. You have Aunt May. And here's an example of they're throwing actually an anniversary party for May for working at Feast, and he's kind of trying to keep her distracted. So when you watch the cinematic, she's talking about MJ, and she's asking they have beautiful babies, and he freaks out. And those awkward moments that you would expect from a Peter Parker experience really play out in the scene really, really well. And you start to kind of see, one thing is, a lot of people, when it comes to villains, we want them to have very believable motivations. And you see Martin Lee as a very good guy, a guy who's giving back to the community. But there's something driving him as Mr. Negative that's very personal, and you'll understand why he's doing what he's doing to the city, to Norman Osborn, as you play the game.
Now, do you play as Peter Parker and not as Spider-Man?
Yeah, you actually do. Yeah, you actually in this mission here, going to visit Feast on May. Before this cinematic even starts, you can walk around Feast, introduce yourself to people. If you're at the lab, you can talk. You can hang out with your mentor. There's different things at the lab you can do. So we'll have multiple missions at playing as Peter, as obviously majority being Spider-Man, but we also want you to show the Peter Parker side of his life and go beyond just cutscenes. And same thing with MJ. MJ will be a playable character in the game as well. There'll be certain missions throughout the main story where she'll be playable, and she has her own gameplay
I'm
mechanics.
pretty sure it's almost
and we'll
over.
be introducing new mechanics as you go further in the game.
See you
I look forward to seeing the B-roll on that one.
video.
Maybe you can wait till launch.
Yeah, you can wait to launch on that one. I don't think we have any B-roll on MJ.
Well, thank you very much for talking us through some of this footage. I really appreciate it. I know Dave got hands-on and really enjoyed it. We're going to have more coming up on Spider-Man.